Uninformed immigrants are at a huge disadvantage in court, in financial and legal matters, and also sometimes in life. Well, what can we do about it? I'll tell you what. We can train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to maximize their lives regardless of their immigration status. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. I am your immigration lawyer and host, Otis Landerholm, and this is the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. All right. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm so happy to be here with you. My question for you today is, how do we be empowered during this election? And, it's no surprise, right? We have an election coming up next week. It's now voting time. And, unless you've been completely lost over these last 4 years, the truth is if you care about immigrants, or if you come from a pro-immigration political philosophy, you already know, like this is no surprise at all, you already know that the Trump administration should not be your candidate. All right? And it's not just his administration's travel bans against Muslim majority countries. It's not just their rhetoric against immigrants, referring to them as criminals and referring to all of Central America as quote unquote shithole countries. It's not just the Trump administration's terminating TPS and DACA, their undoing prosecutorial discretion, their unprecedented attack on asylum laws, like making asylum seekers wait in Mexico, keeping people detained, separating children from their families crossing the border. It's also not just they're rewriting the rules regarding the public charge doctrine to make applying for green cards much more difficult. All of these put together are just a few of the extremely damaging immigration rules that the Trump administration has issued. All right. And so it's like, without a doubt, if you are pro-immigration, all right, and if you're allowed to vote, if you're a U.S. citizen, please join me. Let's dump the Trump. All right. He has been awful for immigrants. And so, there's that. Okay. If you believe that immigrants are an incredible contribution to the United States, if you are pro-immigrant, then let's get rid of our current administration and let's get a different one in power. But here's the thing: I want to talk about more than that. All right, because we're in the middle of an election time. All right, and there's politics everywhere, and there's disagreements everywhere. And I'm a believer in empowerment, and I believe that Republicans and Democrats, and honestly, I believe even Mr. Trump himself ought to be empowered. We all should be empowered. We all have the right to be empowered, to be fully self-expressed, to say what we want, even in the midst of disagreements, all right? And I believe that this current election is disempowering a lot of people. Many people feel disenfranchised. Many people feel more angry, more disconnected, more isolated, and more alone now than ever, all right? So how can we be empowered during this election? How do we change the fact that people feel isolated, that people feel disconnected and angry and things like that? All right. How can we support people to being more empowered? On the one hand, you can say what you want. Everybody can say what they want. All right. But it isn't just about saying what you want. It's not just about saying, oh, yay, Trump is bad or Biden's good or the reverse. All right. It's not just about saying your political voice. It's also about listening to others and being willing to hear what they're saying and to accept another person's viewpoint, even if or even when we disagree. There are so many people that are just like they can't handle a disagreement. And the truth is that from my standpoint, Trump has been awful for immigrants, but in my opinion, the Obama administration wasn't perfect for immigrants either. All right. And it might be the case that, in my opinion, Biden and Harris will be 1,000% better than Trump. But in my opinion, they still cannot be like perfect for immigrants, mainly because no president can be perfect for immigrants when Congress has passed laws that are overly harsh and that has made it impossible for millions of people to come out of the shadows. All right? Because unless and until Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives, unless and until they get together and actually pass a law that allows the undocumented community to come out of the shadows, and unless and until we start actually welcoming immigrants from other parts of the world, I mean, we've got to keep fighting to push for that, right? Unless and until those two things happen, I'm going to still be here fighting for us to do that, for us to improve, all right? And that is the country and the world that I believe in. And so for me to be empowered, I'm going to keep pushing for that no matter who's at in the White House. All right? And so anyway, so how do we feel empowered during this turbulent time? Well, a few things there, right? First of all, I challenge you to connect with the people that are in your circles, all right? At your church, at work, within your family, within your groups. I challenge you to connect with people, reach out to people regardless of whether or not they might have differing viewpoints, regardless of disagreements. If we are empowered, we can still respect people even if they disagree with us. All right? The second thing I recommend is that we focus on what we can control. You know, if you're an immigrant, you can't vote. So you can't control the outcome of this election. All right? And even if you are a voting citizen, you know, we can't like really control what exactly is going to happen. All right? But we can focus on how we're living our daily lives. We can focus on who we pick up the phone and call and check in on. All right, we can focus on who we are being. And so let's continue to live lives that are in integrity with our core values. And that is something we are in charge of. We do have control over. And then the third thing, which I think is a big one right now, is let's focus on gratitude. You know, we all have so much to be grateful for. We are alive. We are human beings. We're not like snails, right? We're not termites. We're human beings, all right? We have the capability of rational thought. We live in a beautiful place. We live on a beautiful planet, all right? And hopefully, we are surrounded by people who care about us and who love us and who support us. And if you're not, you know, you have the power to seek that out, to create it for yourself, to find it. And you can also be grateful for that power. In my opinion, gratitude is the number one thing that is missing in a lot of the conversations that I hear about this election. And something that I'm going to say loud and clear, all right, is that I am going to continue to be grateful to be alive no matter who wins. Because the person who's living in the White House in Washington, D.C. does not control my own happiness levels. Only I can do that. Only I choose to do that. The person who lives in the White House in Washington, D.C. cannot and does not affect my personal mood, does not affect my outlook, my actions, my goals, my desires, my hopes, my dreams. I will not stop pushing my life forward just because someone I wholeheartedly disagree with might be our president. All right? And I hope the same for you. You can be the person in charge of your own life. And so that's it. That's it. Don't let this election disempower you. Be true to who you are, grow, and be more yourself. Grow yourself. Go for who it is you were meant to be, regardless of your immigration status. Oh, and if you are a U.S. citizen, please do vote, because we do need it. Thanks a lot, and thanks so much for listening to the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. If you like what you heard and if you want to learn more, please go to landerholmimmigration.com/podcast.